My family sold my $3,600 dream PC to fund my sister's shopping spree, so I left. And what I did. Next, my parents sold my $3,600 custom-built PC to pay for my sister's lavish shopping trip. So I moved out, and my next steps left them reeling in a way they never saw coming. I'm 22, and gaming and PC building have been my world since I was young. It's more than a hobby. It's my passion, my escape, and my way forward. For years, I scraped together money from part-time jobs, freelance projects, and every spare dollar from birthdays or holidays to create what I called my ultimate rig, a $3,600 gaming PC. Beyond gaming, it was my tool for freelance video editing, which brought in extra income and helped me hone skills for my future. Now, let me tell you about my family. My parents are the type who believe they always know best, but their version of best usually centers on my younger sister, Chloe. At 18, Chloe is the family's shining star. If you've ever met someone who thinks they're the center of the universe, that's her. She's obsessed with high-end fashion, luxury bags, and anything that screams trendy. My parents go out of their way to give her everything she desires, even if it means trampling over me to do it. Growing up, it was clear Chloe was the priority. When money was tight, I was the one who had to sacrifice. My mom would say things like, "You're older? You can deal with it," or "You're a guy, you don't need as much." I got used to it, focused on my own goals, and stayed out of their way. I didn't hold a grudge against Chloe, I just worked hard for what I wanted. Fast forward to a few months ago. It was a typical Saturday. I'd been out with my best friend Jake, who's my go-to gaming partner. We were hyped about an upcoming esports tournament and were tossing around ideas to crush the competition. When I got home, ready to jump on my PC and practice, I walked into my room and froze. My desk was bare. My PC, monitor, keyboard, everything was gone. For a moment, I thought we'd been robbed, but the rest of the house looked untouched. I rushed downstairs to find my parents in the living room, sipping tea like nothing was wrong. "Where's my computer?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom barely looked up. "Oh, we sold it," she said, calm as ever. I blinked, trying to wrap my head around her words. "You sold it? What do you mean you sold it?" Dad let out a heavy sigh, like I was overreacting. Chloe needed new outfits for a special occasion. We were short on cash, so we sold the computer. It was just collecting dust anyway. Collecting dust? I couldn't keep my voice down. That PC wasn't just sitting there. I spent years saving for it. I use it for my freelance work. What's this special occasion for Chloe that's more important than my stuff? Mom's eyes narrowed. "Don't raise your voice at us. We're your parents, and we made a choice for the family. Chloe's event matters, and you can always save up for another computer." Save up again? I was floored. Do you have any idea how much time and effort went into that PC? And how am I supposed to meet my work deadlines now? Dad waved me off like I was being childish. "Your freelance stuff isn't a real career. You're always gaming anyway." That was their go-to line, and it stung every time. Gaming was part of my life, sure, but that PC was my lifeline, my way to earn money and build something that was mine. Their dismissal felt like a punch to the gut. I stormed back to my room, my mind racing. I texted Jake to vent, and he was as stunned as I was. "They didn't even ask you?" he replied. "Nope, just sold it for Chloe's dumb event," I typed back. "She's so entitled, man. You should have locked it up or something. Hindsight's brutal, right?" All I could think about was how years of hard work had vanished, and my family didn't care. That night, I decided to confront Chloe. I found her in her room, twirling in front of her mirror in a new dress. "Do you even know what Mom and Dad did to pay for your new clothes?" I asked, leaning against her doorway. She barely glanced at me. "What are you talking about?" "They sold my PC, my $3,600 rig, gone, just so you could have your fancy wardrobe." She shrugged, still focused on her reflection. "So? It's just a computer. You can build another one." I couldn't believe her apathy. It wasn't just a computer, Chloe. It was years of saving, working, and building. It was how I made money. "Not my problem," she said with a smirk. "I didn't tell them to sell it." She paused, her tone shifting to defensiveness. "Besides, it's not my fault they thought it was a good idea. They're the ones who did it, not me." Her words lit a fire in me. "You brought it up, didn't you? You knew what they'd do, and you let it happen." Chloe rolled her eyes like I was being ridiculous. "Don't act like I'm in charge of what Mom and Dad do. If they sold your precious toy, it's because they thought it was best. That's on them." I stared at her, stunned by her lack of remorse. She paused again and added, "Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with your games, you'd see what actually matters. I have a reputation to keep up. You're just sitting in your room all day." I walked out before I said something I'd regret. Talking to Chloe was useless. She'd never had to earn anything in her life. Everything was handed to her, and my parents were happy to keep it that way. The next few days were tense. My parents acted like nothing happened, while Chloe strutted around in her new outfits. Every time I thought about how casually they'd sold something so important to me, my anger grew. Jake kept checking in, trying to keep me level-headed. "You've got to do something, man. Don't let them walk all over you." He was right. I couldn't just let this slide. But part of me wondered if I should just swallow my pride and move on. I was torn. Do you think I'm blowing this out of proportion? If my parents thought they could treat me like this, they were about to learn I wasn't invisible. The days that followed were tough. I could barely look at my parents without feeling furious. Every time Chloe flaunted her new accessories, it felt like a personal jab. I stayed in my room as much as possible, working on an old, sluggish laptop that could barely handle my freelance tasks. It was like trying to run a marathon in flip-flops. Every crash or lag reminded me of what I'd lost. Jake was my anchor through it all. He'd call just to chat about random stuff, new game patches, viral videos, anything to lift my spirits. One night, as I ranted about my family's nonsense, he said, "You know what? It's not just business. It's personal. They made it personal, and now they're acting like it's no big deal. It was personal. This wasn't just about money. It was my family showing me I didn't matter." That realization hit hard, and I knew I had to act, not just to get my PC back, but to show them they couldn't treat me like an afterthought. I gathered every bit of evidence I could to prove the PC was mine, receipts for the parts, photos of the build, and bank statements showing my freelance income. I also tracked down the buyer. They were understanding but clear. No refunds unless I could pay back the $1,200 my parents got for it. Now I'm at a crossroads. Part of me wants to let it go. It feels like too much hassle, and confronting my parents again makes my stomach churn. Am I overreacting? Should I just move on? Update 1. Things got messier. Hey, everyone. I didn't think this could get worse, but it has. I was torn between staying quiet and fighting back. Then Jake reminded me, if you don't stand up now, they'll keep walking over you. They'll think they can take whatever they want whenever it suits them. He was right. This wasn't just about the PC anymore. It was about respect. So I confronted my family at dinner, figuring it was the best time to have them all in one place. I sat at the table, staring at my parents, while Chloe scrolled through her phone, oblivious. Mom was talking about some neighborhood drama when I interrupted. "I want my $1,200 back," I said, sliding a folder of documents across the table. Dad raised an eyebrow. "What money?" "The $1,200 you got for selling my PC," I replied, keeping my voice firm. "I built that rig with my own money. It was legally mine. You had no right to sell it." Mom let out a dramatic sigh, like I was a kid throwing a fit. "We've been through this. It was for Chloe's sake, a family decision." "No," I shot back. "You made a decision without asking me. That's theft, plain and simple." Dad's face darkened. "Watch how you talk to us. We're your parents. Everything in this house is ours. You live here, so that computer was ours too." "That's not how it works," I said, staying calm despite my rising anger. I held up a receipt. "This proves I paid for the parts, and this," I handed them the buyer's transaction record, "shows you sold it for $1,200. You owe me." Mom gasped, like I'd accused her of a crime. "How dare you call us thieves? We did this for Chloe. She's your sister. Family means sacrifice." "Yeah, and I'm always the one sacrificing," I snapped. "Chloe gets everything, and I'm supposed to just deal with it. Not anymore. Pay me back or I'll take this to court." "You wouldn't dare," Mom hissed. "Try me," I said, meeting her gaze. Chloe, who'd been quiet, finally spoke up. "Are you seriously threatening Mom and Dad over a computer? That's pathetic." "No," I said, turning to her. "What's pathetic is you being okay with taking advantage of my hard work. You knew what they did and you didn't care." She rolled her eyes. "It's not my fault they sold it. I didn't make them do anything. You suggested it, Chloe. You knew exactly what you were doing." She gave me a smug look. "I only mentioned it because you're always whining about being busy with work. I thought you'd appreciate a break." "A break?" I said, my voice rising. "That PC was my livelihood. You don't get it." Chloe smirked, unfazed. "Wow, you're making this my fault. You're always going on about being independent. I thought you'd be fine helping the family for once. Isn't that what independence is?" My hands clenched under the table. "Helping? You didn't need a new wardrobe, Chloe. You wanted it. There's a difference." She scoffed. "Maybe you're just mad because I know how to get what I want, and you're too busy moping to figure it out." I nearly lost it. But Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough. We'll pay you back, but don't expect anything else from us. You're on your own. I laughed bitterly. I've been on my own for years. Now I'm just done letting you use me. The next day, they handed me $1,200 in cash, their faces tight with resentment. I took it without a word. It wasn't a win, but it was progress. I contacted the buyer, who agreed to sell the PC back for the same price. Getting it back felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. But I knew things couldn't go back to normal. My parents and Chloe wouldn't change, and I couldn't stay in a house where I was treated like an outsider. I'm thinking about moving out. Is that a smart move, or am I setting myself up for trouble? Hey, again. After my last update, I started planning my way out. Moving out wouldn't be easy, I didn't have a big savings buffer, and rent isn't cheap. But I had my freelance work, and I was determined to make it happen. I called Jake, who'd been my rock through this mess, to brainstorm. Dude, you need to get out of there, Jake said when I told him my plan. You can stay at my place for a bit if you're stuck. Thanks, but I need my own space, I said. I've been under their control too long. I just need to figure out the money side. Jake paused, then said, what if you lean into your freelance work? You're good at it, and there's demand. Maybe start streaming again, too. He had a point. I'd tried streaming before, but got sidetracked. Now, with my PC back and a fire in my belly, it felt like the right time to try again. That night, I started looking for apartments. My budget was tight, so I focused on small studios or shared places. After hours of searching, I found a tiny studio a few miles away. It was basic, a single room with a kitchenette and bathroom, but it fit my budget and wasn't too far from town. I contacted the landlord, who agreed to show me the place the next day. Walking into the apartment, it hit me how real this was. The space was bare, but I wanted it. I signed the lease that day, and a sense of relief washed over me. The next hurdle was packing up my life without alerting my family. I didn't want a big scene, but I also didn't want them guilting me into staying. Over the next week, I moved my stuff out bit by bit, storing boxes at Jake's place until I was ready. Meanwhile, I dove into freelancing and streaming. I updated my portfolio, contacted old clients, and advertised my services online. The response was better than I'd hoped, and soon I had enough gigs to cover my first month's rent. As my move-out day neared, I kept my distance from my family. Chloe didn't notice. She was too busy showing off her new bag online. My parents, though, seemed to sense something. They'd drop comments at dinner like, "You're awfully quiet these days," or "Let us know if you're planning anything major." I dodged them with vague responses, but I could feel their suspicion. The final push came 2 nights before I left. I was packing my last things when Mom knocked on my door. "Can we talk?" she asked, stepping inside before I could answer. "I don't have much to say," I muttered, organizing my desk. "Just listen," she said, sitting on my bed like nothing was wrong. "We didn't sell your computer to upset you. Chloe mentioned it when we were figuring out how to help her. She said you weren't using it much, and it was valuable. We thought it made sense." I turned to her, my jaw tight. "So this was Chloe's idea?" She sighed, almost guilty. "Not exactly, but she suggested it, and we thought it was reasonable. You've always been so self-sufficient, we figured you'd be okay with it." "You thought I'd be okay with you selling something I worked years for because Chloe wanted new clothes?" Mom flinched, but didn't answer. Instead, she stood and left, as if her weak excuse fixed everything. That sealed it. Chloe had planted the idea, and my parents ran with it. The morning of my move came fast. I packed the last of my stuff and left a note on the kitchen counter. It was simple, just saying I needed space to focus on myself. I didn't want to fight, and I knew an in-person goodbye would turn into a guilt trip. Jake helped me unload at the apartment. As we set up my PC in the corner, I felt a freedom I hadn't known in years. That night, I went live on my streaming channel for the first time in ages. The audience was small, but it didn't matter. I was in my own space, doing what I loved. That's how things have been lately. I feel a bit uneasy, but I'm pushing forward. If anything new happens, I'll update you. Hey, everyone. Here's how things have gone since I moved out. I thought leaving would end the drama, but I was wrong. After settling into my new place, I had freelance projects to tackle and a streaming schedule to build. But one question lingered. Would my parents even care that I'd left, or would they just call me dramatic? I didn't need their approval, but I wondered if they'd even noticed. By mid-afternoon on my first day out, I got my answer. Mom called, and when I didn't answer, she left a voicemail. "You could have told us you were leaving," she said. "Your father and I are disappointed in how you handled this. Family sticks together, not runs away." I deleted it halfway through. Dad called next, but I ignored him too. Then came the texts. Mom wrote, "You've really hurt me," followed by, "We've always done what's best for you." Dad's were blunt. "You're being reckless." I muted my phone and got back to work. I wasn't letting their guilt trips ruin my day. That evening, as I set up my stream, Chloe texted, "You left? LOL. Guess you couldn't handle it." Mom's losing it, so maybe call her before she freaks out. Classic Chloe. Zero accountability. I didn't reply and focused on my stream. My small but growing audience was a breath of fresh air, people who valued my skills and showed up to support me. It was the community I didn't know I needed. The next few weeks were a mix of progress and frustration. My freelance work was picking up, and my streams were gaining traction. But my parents kept trying to pull me back. Their texts swung between guilt and anger. "You're abandoning your family," Mom wrote. "Chloe's upset too. Don't you care about us?" Chloe, upset? That was laughable. She never cared unless she needed something, and now I was supposed to buy her act. I ignored them, but the messages stung. One night, Jake came over and asked, "Have your parents chilled out yet?" "Nope," I said. "They're still texting like I owe them something." "Typical guilt trip," Jake said. "Think they'll ever drop it?" "Doubt it," I admitted. "But I'm not going back. That house wasn't good for me. They don't respect me, and they never will," Jake nodded. "Have you told them that?" He had a point. I'd been dodging them, but I hadn't addressed the core issue. Maybe for my own peace, I needed to speak up. The next day, I typed out a message to my parents. "I'm not coming back. This isn't about being selfish. It's about what's best for me. I've spent years feeling like I don't matter, and I can't live like that anymore. I hope you respect my choice, but if not, I'm moving forward anyway." I sent it and felt lighter. I wasn't expecting a warm reply, and I didn't get one. Mom sent a long rant about my ingratitude, saying Chloe's happiness was their priority because she needed more support. Dad's response was short. "You'll regret this." But instead of pain, I felt liberated. Their words didn't control me anymore. I kept working and streaming. One day I saw a post from Chloe on social media, a selfie with a new luxury bag and the caption, "So thankful for my amazing parents who always put first what counts." I rolled my eyes and moved on. She could live in her fantasy world. It wasn't my issue anymore. A few days later, a family friend spotted me at a cafe. "Heard you moved out," they said, raising an eyebrow. "Your parents are struggling, you know. They've been asking for help." "Help?" I asked, confused. "They've overextended themselves buying stuff for Chloe. I think they expected you to stick around and chip in." I shrugged, sipping my coffee. "That's too bad." And I meant it. Not out of spite, but because it wasn't my burden. I was thriving without them. The guilt trip texts didn't stop. Moms grew desperate. "We're struggling and you've left us to handle it alone." Dad's favorite was, "If you were a good son, you'd help your family." A good son? That was ironic, coming from someone who never valued my efforts. Chloe stayed silent, probably waiting for me to cave while letting our parents do the work. One day, Jake came over grinning like he had a story. "Guess who I saw at the store?" he said. "Who?" "Your mom. She cornered me by the cereal aisle, ranting about how you've abandoned them. Said you're hanging out with bad influences. Guess that's me." I laughed, but it hurt a little. Not because of Mom's words, I was used to her theatrics, but because it showed they didn't miss me. They missed controlling me. A few days later, Mom texted again. "Chloe's birthday is coming up. We'd love for you to come to dinner. It would mean a lot to her." I stared at the message. Part of me hoped it was a peace offering, but I knew better. It was about looking like a perfect family, not fixing anything. I showed Jake the text, and he shook his head. "Don't go, man. They'll just drag you back into their mess." "I know," I sighed. "But if I don't, they'll just say I'm the bad guy." "Who cares what they say?" Jake said. "You don't owe them anything." He was right, but saying no to my family was tougher than I expected. So I did something I hadn't since moving out. I called Mom. Her voice was overly sweet when she answered. "Oh, honey, it's so good to hear from you." "Hey, Mom," I said, keeping my tone flat. "I saw your text about Chloe's birthday." "Yes, we're having a family dinner," she said quickly. "Chloe would love you there." "I can't make it," I said firmly. "I'm busy with work, and honestly, it's not a good idea." There was a long silence. "You're really going to let your sister down like this, after all we've done for you?" And there it was, the guilt trip. "Mom, this isn't about Chloe. It's about how every time I try to connect with you guys, I'm the only one trying. I'm done pretending everything's okay when it's not." She didn't take it well. "Fine. If you want to throw your family away, that's your choice. But don't come back when you realize what you've lost." That was it. "Mom, I've spent my life trying to earn your respect, and it's never been enough. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing myself. Goodbye." I hung up, my hands trembling. It felt like cutting a chain that had held me back for years. After that, I blocked Mom and Dad's numbers. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The constant messages weren't helping anyone, and I needed to focus on my life. Chloe didn't reach out, which made things simpler. With the drama gone, I threw myself into work and streaming. One night, during a stream, someone asked, "Why'd you start streaming?" I paused, unsure about sharing my story. It felt too personal. But then I thought, why not? "I started because I love it," I said, "but also to prove I could build something on my own without anyone holding me back." The chat exploded with support. "Mad respect, and you're killing it." It felt amazing to know people valued me, not just for gaming, but for my journey. As months passed, I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't want a relationship with my parents or Chloe, but I didn't dwell on it either. Cutting ties gave me peace, and for the first time, I felt free. One day, Jake asked, "Think they'll ever apologize?" I shrugged. "Probably not, but I don't need it. I'm living my life on my terms, and that's enough." And it was. Now I'm building a life where my work is respected and my passions are celebrated. To anyone in a similar situation, you don't have to stay where you're not valued. You deserve better. Walking away isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself.